I'm not willing to trade in my genuine burning desire for the safety of a long-term relationship. And I will not allow a woman that I take on for a relationship to trade in her burning desire for a pragmatic or transactional relationship with me. Determining factor of whether your relationship is going to make it or not, or whether it'll be successful or not, is going to be in how you and your partner handle conflict. So, regardless of how good of a fit you and somebody else might be, regardless of how much you care about somebody, love somebody, and how much they love you in the beginning, the reality is if you can't handle conflict effectively in your relationship, it's going to eventually chip away at the relationship and it'll be essentially over with, or it'll resemble something that you didn't really intend to be in, right? So your relationship will end up degrading into something that you don't want. That's not something we want to have happen. And when you guys are like looking at red flags, for potential women, potential partners, this and that and the other, it's like you're trying to find this good woman and our focus is on genuine desire. And there's good reasons for that. I mean, genuine desire is important. It's critical. Without it, of course, there isn't going to be frame. There isn't going to be a successful relationship without a genuine burning desire for your partner. And I've talked about, that quite a bit in other videos where we talk about the difference between that and transactional desire and just different levels of it, right? But that being said, though, even if somebody has absolute genuine burning desire for a partner, what can erode away that desire or their ability to stay with it or stay in, even if the sexual desire remains, is handling conflict ineffectively or badly. Okay. The reason why is because it causes you to start to devalue your partner, or your partner starts to devalue you when things are not handled well or handled effectively. Conflict can't be avoided. That's one thing to keep in mind, is that there isn't going to be any relationship that is devoid of conflict. And the higher the desire, generally, the more conflict you can run into, generally speaking. Now, why is that? Right? Is because as the desire goes up, what happens is the emotional buy-in and the investment goes up for both parties, men and women. Once that buy-in and investment, as it goes up and as it continues to raise, it means that the relationship breaking up or having problems in the relationship that, could lead to bad outcomes from either party, those bad consequences are magnified, right? Like, so when the emotions for the other person are higher, that means the danger is higher for, like, if there's a breakup or if the relationship dissolves into something that isn't what you initially wanted or what you're looking for, and or if conflicts just aren't able to be resolved, there's more of a chance of harming the other person, right? With whatever those outcomes are. And so with the desire going up, the danger goes up. Well, what happens when danger goes up? Anxiety goes up, and threat and feelings of threat and feelings of being worried and fears and insecurities, all of those things go up. So what happens when all those things go up? Your conflicts, your fights, those things continue to raise. And so it's an interesting thing because a lot of people settle for lukewarm relationships because they are avoiding conflict. Those relationships will stay together, but there really won't be the desire in those relationships that either person would want. It becomes more of a settling, right? And in fact, I mean, going back to thousands of years when the term eros back in, in when you're talking about the Greeks and how they termed love, there was a, pragma was the type of love you had for a wife or a husband. All right. This is where you exchange dowries and so forth. And it was a pragmatic relationship. All right. So in an eros was that mad, crazy, burning desire you had for someone, that sexual desire, that lust, and that love, all of those things being put together. Okay. Not just one or the other. And so, like, it was noted through different cultures, going back for thousands of years here, at least, eros was dangerous. It was considered a danger. All right. So having genuine burning desire was considered dangerous for a pragma relationship or a pragmatic relationship. This is why a lot of women tend to settle for guys who didn't really stimulate their burning desire, right? It's a transactional relationship. It's safer. So as women age, when they're younger, they're not thinking about their safety. They're thinking about having fun. As they approach 30 and past 30, they start thinking more about their safety and safety of children and longevity. What happens is they trade in burning desire for pragma, right? A more pragmatic relationship. And with less desire, there may be less fights. But we've evolved too with social media and, it's a technology based communication and environment where we're in a global sexual marketplace. Women don't just settle anymore. They do maybe temporarily, but divorce has become a commonplace now. Breakups have become commonplace. So you're no longer safe in a pragma relationship, even if that was your goal, because the dissatisfaction of being with somebody that, you're not super into, or that she's not super into, is going to take its toll after a number of years, and you're going to end up apart. So what's interesting is, as we've evolved as a species, as we've evolved with our communication, we have higher standards for ourselves. I know I do for myself. I mean, maybe me 100 years ago would have been cool settling with a woman that I was just sort of okay with, you know what I mean? And just have that family or whatever. But now, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm very type A, so probably not. I probably would have been a womanizer till I die, right? But but I'm not a womanizer now. I do desire long-term relationships of some level or structure. But the thing is, I'm not willing to trade in my genuine burning desire for the safety of a long-term relationship. And I will not allow a woman that I take on for a relationship to trade in her burning desire for a pragmatic or transactional relationship with me. I know that that's a relationship that's a recipe for, at best case scenario, a lukewarm roommate sort of situation over after, a period of years. That's the best case. The worst case is a scenario where I'm dealing with an unhappy woman who's creating a lot of conflict for me, and that ends up ending, the relationship if it's a transactional one. So I'm not willing to trade in less drama for desire. In other words, I require desire, burning desire as a top priority. And I recommend you guys do the same, because the reality is, although there may be more conflict to manage with higher desire, if you do manage conflict and frame effectively, and if you choose or pick a healthy partner, your choices of picking somebody who's healthy with some intelligence and emotional self-control, then you guys can reduce those conflicts, or at least handle them effectively, and have your cake and eat it too, so to speak, which is a high desire relationship with conflict management. So it reduces that anxiety and those fears. And it is something you can have. I'm not going to sit here and, say you can't, but it's just going to be a small percentage of you guys. Hopefully 100% of you guys who are listening to this, but most people won't listen to this. Most people are going to fall back to their old patterns and not do anything I say. Right. And And not just what I say, because what I'm saying is actually based in a lot of research too. So, and they're going to fail in those relationships, or they will be successful, quote unquote, in a lukewarm relationship. Statistically speaking, keeping going back to a particular study, is about 1 in 10 relationships last a long time and maintain genuine burning desire. So it's not very many. That being said, though, there's also a smaller percentage of 7, 8 figure people out there too, right? People who make, over 100,000 or over $200,000 a year. That's also a small percentage too, right? If you're chasing excellence, you got to chase excellence in your relationships too. If I'm not willing to settle financially or with my health or with my experiences in other areas of my life, then I'm not going to settle in my relationships either. So I'm going to ask myself the questions, what is it that I need to do to be part of the 1/10 of relationships that make it past 8 years and where both partners are still high desire for each other? What does it take to get there? That's the questions I'm going to ask myself. What do I need to show up as, and what kind of a man do I need to be? And what kind of a woman does she need to be? Right. And of course, if you're a woman, you're reversing that. All right. So those are the questions I want to ask myself. I want to say, what do I need to do to be the 1/10? Not just look at the probability and give up on it. All right. So, guys, people who are success minded and who are actually going to achieve things in life, which is hopefully y'all listening, that's what you need to ask. You need to ask the success minded questions, not how can I fail this, but how can I succeed? Right. What are the things I need to do? Probabilities aren't probabilities because it's chance. We're dealing with human behavior here, which means you have choice. All right. We're not talking about the probability of winning the lottery. We're talking about you being able to make choices to increase your probability. And if you make the right choices, you have, I would say, more like 90% chance of being in that 1/10 of the population with a happy relationship, with high desire, past to 8 years. And until you get there, you're going to have a lot of fun on the way, because even your shorter relationships and your dating experiences, they don't have to be terrible. In fact, they can all be really good experiences, provided that you're making the right choices in your behaviors. And so you have control here. You have control over your relationships because, despite probabilities, you're not a statistic. You're a human being who can make choices.